Hello everybody. In the previous video I demonstrated how to loop through all of the worksheets within a workbook and identify the name of the worksheet and the index number of the worksheet. And I explained in a future video I'd be showing how to create a table of contents using this for loop. So let me go on and get started on that. First off, this is from the previous video, get all sheets. It's telling me TOC is the first index, home is the second, sheet 2, and then sheet 3. All I'm going to do is go to my table of contents, but I'm going to click design mode first, double click my command button, and I'm going to copy this code, and I'm going to toggle back to my workbook, go to my table of contents, and the only thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to do anything too fancy here, just going to, in C3 I'm going to put table of contents. I'm going to make this bold, and the only thing I'm going to do is list the table of contents right here, and I'm going to create a hyperlink so that the hyperlink links directly to the sheet range A1. So to do that, I had already created this macro, and I actually had Excel created it, and all I did was modify it so that we can use it to our application. I'm going to click edit. And so this one just says sheet 4 dot range C10 hyperlinks dot add, and then we just have the anchor point, which is sheet 4 C10. Same thing as here, otherwise this would be the selection. The address, sub address, and then text to display. In this case I had named it link 2, but what we're going to do is we're going to change the text to display to be the name of the sheet. I'm going to paste the code from the previous video, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it inside the for loop. I'm going to do output row is equal to, I'm going to put the output row starting as 3 even though we're going to be starting at 4, and I'll explain the reason behind that. I'm going to put output row is equal to 3. Inside the for loop I'm going to put output row is equal to output row plus 1. This will be in the very first instance, which is going to put us starting at 4. And so we mentioned we were going to be working into column C, so column C is going to remain the same. The only thing that we're going to do is the range, we're going to change that to C double quote ampersand, and we're going to put output underscore row. And you want to do that, of course, to the anchor as well. And I'm going to change that out. Now, in case you're wondering where this sheet 4 comes from, sheet 4 is just the table of contents sheet. This could be rewritten as, I'm just going to put this as a non-executable code. That can be, sheet 4 can be written as sheets and then TOC dot range. I'll just put can be written like this. So when you're building this for your application, keep in mind that that sheet 4, I mean, you can just write it like the way I have it here, sheets TOC, and just label that as the name of your workbook, your worksheet. Okay, so let me go on and remove the message box. I'm going to put a single quote to make it non-executable. So sheet 4 dot range C and output row, we're going to change the sub address. Instead of it being home exclamation A1 for the reference, we want this to be the name of the worksheet. So it's going to be worksheet.name. It's going to be worksheet.name ampersand double quote, we'll do the exclamation mark A1, and then text to display, I'm just going to leave that as the worksheet name as well, worksheet.name. And let's go on and try this code out. I'm gonna call sub macro 1. I'm just gonna rename this as create table of contents. In case you're having difficulty creating this macro, not specifically the code, but actually putting a macro up here, a couple of ways to do it. You can just click the macro button in your developers tab, and here under macro name you can just put, I'm gonna say create TOC2, and then hit. The moment I do that, because it identifies that create TOC2 is not in here, you'll get a create option button, and you just click create, and then you type the code in here. but of course we already have it set up in module 1. Let me play this code out. Macro create TOC run, and now all it did was label TOC, home, sheet 2, and sheet 3. So if I click TOC, it's going to take me to A1. If I click home, it's going to take me to the home sheet. If I click sheet 2, it's going to take me to sheet 2. The only thing that we can do different, that way we don't have the TOC, the table of contents link on here. You can modify the macro so that create TOC, click edit. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. I mean, typically your TOC sheet is probably going to be the first one. If that's going to be the case, you can just change the output row to start off with, actually no, that's not going to work. The best way to do it in that case is doing this. You'll put if worksheet.name is equal to, in this case mine's TOC, then do nothing, else, and then your code, and then end if. And before you execute the code, always clear your table of contents. So I'm going to do sheet4.range. I'm always going to have it starting with C4. I'm just going to go down to C99. Clear contents. That way it always clears it out before it writes it out. So let's try this out. I'm going to do macros, create TOC, run. And it worked. However, let's do one more thing. If worksheet.name is equal to TOC, since it's doing nothing, we should do output row is equal to output row minus 1. That way we don't get that blank space. Let's try running that macro again. And then there you have it. So now you have home, sheet 2, sheet 3, table of contents is not included. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. That now concludes it. Thank you for watching.